Welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Terran, where we find ourselves on Pride of Alteris. Spawning right here in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Protoss probes from South Korea, we have NightMare. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Terran SCVs, likewise also from Korea, we're looking at ByuN's main command center. Alrighty, now I don't think that ByuN really requires any additional introduction. I mean, if you've been watching the channel for a little while, or StarCraft 2 in general, I think I probably posted at least 100 videos featuring ByuN. He's been around since the early days of StarCraft 2. He won the World Championships at some point, I think back in 2016, I want to say. Anyways, something along those lines. He's been very good for a very long time. And as of me making this video, according to LowkoTV, Mr. ByuN is currently the rank 13 in the world. NightMare, though, is maybe a player you're not as familiar with, unless you follow the Korean StarCraft 2 scene very closely. NightMare, in general, is one of those players like, okay, if NightMare's IRL spawn location wasn't Korea, he'd probably won a bunch of tournaments. You know what I mean? Like, Korea obviously is an extremely competitive scene for StarCraft 2, and NightMare is rapidly climbing through the ranks. So over the last couple of years, he's been, improving faster than pretty much any other Korean player out there. So if you have a look at his League graph, which I guess quantifies skill level over time. Anyways, if you look at it, you can notice here that, he's been making some very significant improvements. That red dot, by the way, interestingly enough, that is the 20th of August 2020, which is when he joined Team NV, but that's also coincidentally the date at which the balance patch went live, the one that, like, buffed the Void Ray and all that. So apparently NightMare, he looked at those patch notes once and he's like, you know what? If they're giving me an opportunity to play at Team NV, I'm going to go ahead and, double down my efforts. And, well, so far it seems to be paying off. He's been qualifying for the GSL Code S. He's been taking games off of, well, for example, guys like Rogue, but also ByuN and, like, a bunch of other players. So even though he hasn't, like, won a premier tournament just yet, he's definitely a player you do want to keep in mind. So according to LowkoTV, again, NightMare currently the rank 37 in the world. And interestingly enough, on his Wikipedia page, it mentioned that he already did his mandatory military service, which is pretty good. It's happened in the past where, like, players get really good for a little while. Ooh, we're gonna go 3 Reapers? Really? Alright. Oh no, we're canceling. Never mind. No more fun allowed. ByuN was thinking about going for it. Decided to now add on the starport a little bit quicker. Do we not want to make any Marines? Little bit funky right here. Anyways, what was I saying? Right, so basically the TLDR is NightMare has been getting very good over the course of the last couple of years. And, oh yeah, what I was saying is that sometimes players get really good at StarCraft 2 and then they have to go do their, military service, which kind of sucks, especially if you've been rapidly improving and then, you're like 28 years old and you have to go do it, which it's happened in the past, kind of sucks, but apparently that's not a problem for NightMare anymore. ByuN, of course, also already did his, he already did his as well, which is quite nice. Anyways, this particular game, I know nothing about it. I know it was recently played during a Alpha X tournament. So, yeah, it's a long game of Protoss versus Terran on Pride of Alteris. Generally speaking, Terran versus Protoss is one of those matchups where the games usually don't go any longer than like 15 to 20 minutes. And this game is quite a bit longer than that. So I'm kind of curious to find out exactly what ended up happening between these two. Pride of Alteris, of course, does have 4 layers. So if you consider like four playable layers on the map, right? So if you consider this the first layer, then a little ramp that leads down. There's a second layer, then another ramp that leads down to a third layer, and then there's another ramp that leads down towards a 4th layer as well. Historically speaking, all StarCraft 2 maps have had 3 layers. But yeah, Pride of Alteris has got 4. Because of that, it is relatively, like, you can have the high ground in many locations, right? You can, defend relatively easily compared to some of the other maps that are out there. For example, Curious Minds, I mean, the third base on that map feels extremely exposed compared to this one at the very least. There's also this, if you go down the ramp over here, there's this, like, T section, right? You could choose to take a left turn right here if you come down the ramp and, take the Nexus, and then you can take a right turn as a probe here and take a Nexus over there too. So it comes down to the fact that, like, if you want to go for, like, a timing attack, you can't just push into this direction. You have to go through the third base or go all the way around, which is kind of confusing. Kind of tricky. Anyhow. Robotics facility coming up. A lot of the games actually on Pride of Alteris also end because of the golden bases, right? So the golden bases are Very enticing. Gold base expansions. This is not going to do any damage, right? Alright. Getting a couple of worker kills. Honestly, not too bad. Golden bases in general in StarCraft 2 historically have always had 6 mineral fields. But this one has 8. And obviously there's one right here on the other side of the map too. So, yeah, Pride of Altaris, even though it's a relatively macro-focused map, there have been a lot of games where players just take the golden base because they can't resist. Anyhow, combat shield, stim pack, +1 infantry weapons, I'm assuming is going to be coming up very soon as well. ByuN will likely go for a big push once all of that finishes up right around the same time. Although we do have to see the upgrade. Hello, Mr. ByuN. You've got the resources for it, my man. We've got resources for days. We can start +1 Did he forget? Oh, he may have forgotten. That would be a little bit sloppy. Anyways, in the meantime, on the other side of the map, NightMare, as we already saw, opening up with Phoenixes. I love the Phoenix openers. They're very good, especially when you can lift up, like, you know, siege tanks, marauders, that sort of thing. But obviously also take out the medevacs and any kind of harassment a Terran player might want to throw at you with, like, medevac drops, but also liberators and all that, right? So it's really good. And then you can transition quite smoothly, usually, to watch Colossus play, although that pylon starts up as he hears that he's supply blocked. Ooh, okay, +1 infantry weapons finally starts up. We're lacking a little bit of crispness so far in this game, huh? Yeah, so he decides to go straight into the ranged upgrade as well for the Colossus. That supply block is the most painful one. Yeah, that's a cost you gotta keep in mind when you're making Colossus. Every single Colossus is quite expensive, but they also require like 1 pylon each. So this is nice, actually. This is really quite... Okay, you really wanted to get the Raven. Well, in the end, 1 Phoenix for a medevac and a Raven is actually a really good trade. Looked like it was going to become a disaster. Anyways, NightMare is going to have to defend right now with 1 less Colossus than he normally would. But honestly, losing that Raven right there should make it enough. Generally speaking, you get the Raven out so you can use the... Ooh, nice. Sick dance move right there, Siege Tank. Ready to rock out! Oh, no, wait. Roll out, I think is what it is. Anyways, generally speaking, you bring the... Oh, there we go. Ooh. It's a bit strange, eh? Generally speaking, you get the Raven. Hello, ByuN. Alright. Generally, you get the Raven. Okay, 17 times the charm. To interference matrix the Colossus, right? So if you can shut down the Colossus, the game's quite a bit better for you as a Terran player. But, turns out if the Raven is dead, not much you can do. Quick reaction time right there by NightMare, actually. Alright, we're just lifting up everything. What's going on? Why are we not sending any Marines after this? ByuN's just staring at his mineral line right now. I guess he's busy microing on the other side of the map, but we still have a bunch of Marines over here too that I think would have been quite nice. That's awkward. Anyways. There's a little bit of awkwardness going on in this game, right? Professional game accidentally turns into a viewer-submitted match. Generally speaking, though, the best games of StarCraft 2, they have always been the ones where, like, everyone makes mistakes. Because now it's no longer a standard game, right? So, ByuN definitely can't go for a timing attack here. Usually you push with Stimpack, Combat Shield, +1 infantry weapons, but obviously, losing that Raven there and losing a couple of medevacs, you just completely whiff the timing. It's not really possible anymore. So, he decides to do some of that classical ByuN multitasking. ByuN's very good at dropping in 2, 3, sometimes even 4 locations at once. But obviously, if you commit too many units to, flying around the map, you might have a hard time defending just a straight-up push right here from the Protoss player. But apparently our Protoss player, okay. The golden minerals were having his name on them, right? You can see it spelled out right there, NightMare. Yeah, it's carved right there. If you don't notice it, you might want to get your eyes checked. Anyways, he can't resist. He's gonna go for that golden base as quickly as possible. Medevac right here on the left side of the map will be picked off, it seems. Yep. Part of the medevac rests right there against the robotics bay. And we're gonna go into disruptor play as well. Yeah, so far, I mean, NightMare definitely outplaying ByuN. Obviously, he's made a couple of mistakes here and there, but he's playing a very macro-focused approach. Another 8 Marines going down here together with the medevac. Yeah. Very rough. Okay, ByuN. So, we're gonna have to clean things up a little. He's gone for his own 4th base. Maybe he's gonna land it over at the gold, or he could also go for the one that's a little bit more conservative right over there. Anyways. 2 medevacs didn't work. You know what's better than 2 medevacs? 3 medevacs. So ByuN is sending out a group of units. Very dangerous though, but I guess he realized that he needs to get something done, because this Protoss player is going to outgrow him over the course of the next couple of minutes if he doesn't get anything. So even though the Phoenixes are still roaming the map, they've shown where they are. And because of that, I guess ByuN is going to continue with that field trip. Let's see. Large Protoss army right now at the front as well. A couple of disruptors added into the mix as well. Phoenixes finally fly on over here. They're going to be able to get rid of some of the units, but EMP right there on the Phoenixes? Do you think that's why you brought the Ghost? I actually kind of dig it. Anyways, 20 probes have already ended up going down here. Forge also gets denied. Nicely done right there. Zealots over here trying to create a little bit of a panic too, but overall, yeah, Terran actually gets the better end of this trade by far. Getting those 20 workers plus the Forge upgrade tonight is actually massive. That being said, ByuN needs to be very careful here for the counter-attack, because NightMare's got a killer economy. And if he goes for an all-out push right now, I don't think I would mind it. I mean, we're at 10 gateways. I think he should go for at least a bit of a test. Terran's army is really not that big, NightMare. 97 versus 77 army supply when you're playing with the Protoss units? Alright. Yeah, we're gonna test the waters here a little bit. He doesn't have a prism. No, he does have a prism. Okay. It's right here in the bottom left. He doesn't have a prism with the main army. It's a very marauder-heavy force, though, so maybe actually backing off is the smarter decision to make. But at the very least, he can camp out here in the center of the map. Alright. 10 Dark Templar. The Invisible Men. Are they going to be going for the 1-2 punch? So keep in mind, with the new multiplayer balance patch, you can no longer just blink on top of what's it called, a planetary fortress and kill it in one hit. Ugh. Ugh. That was... Ugh. That was so bad. NightMare's like, hey, psst, you've been struggling a little bit this game. I noticed you were making some mistakes. Here, have 10 Dark Templar. Yeah, that was a complete waste. All right. Is this how the long game happens in Protoss vs. Terran? Is that how it takes place? Both players make silly mistakes that really shouldn't be happening at this level. And then suddenly the games can go the distance, huh? Well, fair enough. Late game upgrades coming up here for NightMare. We're gonna go into the Fleet Beacon. Additional Stargates over here, as well as that Blink Dark Templar Shadow Stride research. So the Shadow Stride, like I was trying to say, it got nerfed a little bit. You used to be able to blink with the Dark Templar and then instantly kill the planetary fortress in like 3 swipes. Nowadays, when you blink, there's a 0.75 second delay. A nice little hit squad over here. Ooh, gets a second one too. Yeah, I think that's, what? 2 Marines and like 3 Marauders or so? For 2... I wasn't paying exact attention. For 2 of those? 2 of those, what are they called? Disruptors? Not a bad deal. A couple of medevacs just wander into the Phoenixes. This Zealot run by over here, though, not achieving all too much. But it almost feels like NightMare is opening up a little bit of supply right now. Yeah, because he's made those Stargate units. He was obviously close to being maxed out, and when you're maxed out, you can't actually add on any new units. So he's now adding on 3 Tempest. At this point, there's not really that many units available here for the Terran player to actually kill Tempest. I mean, we're talking 25 Marines, and if they can get underneath the Tempest, sure. Ghost, obviously, not ideal. We have 0 Vikings. Okay, there's 2 coming up right now. But, yeah, Tempest here, if you can get like 6 or so of them out, you can just start one-shotting whatever the Terran player throws at you. I think it's 5. So, like, one-shot practically everything. Other than, you know, the real heavy hitters. So he's just buying a little bit of time. I think these 2 Vikings were mostly just made to deny any War Prison play. Although he's adding on a couple more. Yeah, he's actually going to go into 4. So I don't know if he noticed. No, I don't think he saw much of anything. But I guess at this point he realized, okay, that's what my opponent is doing. NightMare right now also building up a little wall right here in the center of the map. This is not something that Mr. ByuN, well, is going to be able to do too much about just yet. Although, if the Protoss army leaves this entire location alone... Yeah, because ByuN apparently... Okay, well, this is... We should really take that out, yeah. Alright. Well, ByuN is now losing a big chunk of his force over here on the left side of the map, though. So even though, sure, NightMare is losing that static defense here in the middle, that's just minerals lost. Minerals are something that Protoss players will usually have plenty of at this stage in the game. Whereas, yeah, losing gas kinda sucks, right? ByuN, obviously. Losing a bunch of his Marauders, a bunch of those Medivacs. I think there was a Ghost in there, too. Alright. What are we doing, man? I feel like I've seen so many units just die randomly. Maybe this was the last game of the day that these guys played. What is this? I mean, don't get me wrong. They're still doing much better than me. But, yeah, a little bit sloppiness. That's for sure. Huge EMPs on all of this Protoss army, by the way. And you can see the lack of shields right there. So there's really not much that our Protoss can do to engage this. I don't think he should anyways. Okay. As far as upgrades go, Terran is going into +3/+3. Protoss is going into +3/+3 as well. That's good. +1 air weapons coming up right here for Protoss. +1 air weapons coming up as well for Terran. That's only benefiting the Vikings here. Okay. There's a High Templar in the mix too. He's EMPing the Ghosts. Well, there's many more where those came from. Does he have Storm done? Okay, yeah, he does have Storm done. I was gonna say he should, but... Man, ByuN is being so ballsy with the medevac drops. These are actually so risky, though, because... You know, there's always been a group of... well, right now, yeah, there's only one Phoenix remaining, but for a long time, there were so many Phoenixes flying around the map. Okay, big Disruptor hit right there, but they do get a couple of... Disruptor kills as well. That small hit squad of Terran units. At the same time, another hit squad of Terran units right here. Trying to be annoying. Dark Templar here actually dealing a ton of damage. That being said, good reaction time right there with the scan. Obviously, eventually these units, it's a one-way trip, right? They're not going to be able to live to tell this story. Oh, we're going to go for the Forge. Yep, you will be able to deny +3 ground weapon, or ground armor, rather. Man, those upgrades being denied actually is starting to add on quite a bit, though. I like how NightMare is literally putting the Forges in the exact same spot that they just, you know, were killed in. Anyways. Let's see. Are we going to try and move forward, ByuN? ByuN's been tiptoeing around the center of the map for quite some time. It's got a very basic unit composition if you compare it to that of the Protoss, though. This is where the Iron Bank gets added on. 3 additional command centers. ByuN finally at a maxed out state and comfortable enough to just spend 1,200 minerals on that. We're even now going into some of the proper late game upgrades. So we have the Neil Steel Armor, as well as the, what is it? High-sec auto-tracking? I think that's what it's called. Basically, this is additional ranged for planetary fortresses and missile turrets and stuff. And the other one is additional armor, as well as additional bunker space. I think that's it. Anyways, what I'm getting at, we're going for the niche upgrades that usually aren't played all too often, unless Protoss players and Terran players have money to spare. Protoss right now going into carriers, though. So we have a proper Sky Toss army. The Viking count is also getting quite big, though. Yeah, 19 Vikings here in total for Terran. He's now adding on Liberators. Okay, those are also units that benefit from those upgrades. Base in the top right-hand corner finally gets spotted. ByuN will probably have to start taking another base here soon enough. Dark Templar, okay. Trying to be annoying. But orbital commands shouldn't be much of an issue. Okay, Disruptor. Ooh, almost getting a good hit in. I would like to see some Archons underneath this, I guess. Archons to try and zone away the Vikings. I guess Vikings have a lot of range, so it's quite hard to actually realistically pull that off, but... Yeah, a couple of Stormy Boys also not a bad idea. Alright. Oh, nice catch right here by ByuN. ByuN grabs 2 of the Colossus. 3rd of the Colossus will also go down. A couple of the Disruptors. Actually, no, he decides... No, he does kill it. He decided to retarget right there. ByuN actually grabs a really nice fight here. Gotta be careful that he doesn't walk into the storms, but all of the Disruptors and well, carriers and Tempest and basically all of the heavy hitters here are now destroyed. Vikings decide to land as well, and even though usually they're not going to be that great against Protoss armies, they still deal bonus to mechanical. Landed Vikings here. Oh my god, they're real MVPs. One of the coolest units in the game. Oh my god, is that landed Vikings picked up inside of Medivacs? Yeah, there is a landed Viking right there inside of a Medivac. That is not something we usually see. Still definitely overextended a bit, but apparently ByuN, feeling good about the situation, decides to queue up a tactical nuke. Alright. It's ready to be deployed. So, NightMare's army just got absolutely demolished. Obviously, he's got a lot of money in the bank. He spent a lot of it already as well, but he's still getting a good chunk of income. So, given enough time, he's going to be able to rebuild there relatively easily. Decides to spend some of his last money right here on 6 Dark Templar. Feels a little greedy. Anyways, ByuN, of course, also not maxed out. Decides to take his chances by just, well, dropping a bunch of mules right there in the bottom left-hand corner. That income is going to go quite a bit higher here for the Terran player as these units start returning their minerals. There we go. So that's the income count per minute. A little bit of Liberator harassment just to go after the outer bases. Do you add on Battlecruisers at this point, ByuN? I was secretly hoping that we were trying to create some space for ourselves to be able to make that transition. So, the thing about Battlecruisers is that, like, if you can max out with them, they're actually amazing. The problem is maxing out with them, because they take so long to produce and they're so incredibly expensive. Yeah, maybe that's the reason, actually. Even though ByuN has got a lot of bases, he's not actually that rich. So they're 400 minerals, 300 gas each. Quite a bit more expensive than carriers, even. Although, I guess, with carriers, you gotta take into account the cost of the carrier interceptor ships. So the interceptor ships for the carrier are 15 minerals each. 1-5. They have 40 health and 40 shields each. They deal a heck of a lot of damage. So they're much cheaper than Marines, but... I mean, I guess they didn't have Stimpak. Liberator over here once again. Just barely on the edge, and this is super annoying. It's one of those little moves that ByuN can just kind of queue up and then not think about all too often anymore. Whereas for the Protoss player, you gotta spend quite a bit of time and attention to actually deal with it. Okay. Dark Templar. He wants to go in, but he knows he can't. Okay, well, that Dark Templar would have killed the siege tank there on the previous patch. No more. Fusion Core is coming up. Fusion Core is coming up and so are Tech Labs. Okay. Wait, no, that one's a reactor. This one's a Tech Lab. He canceled it. I thought he was canceling reactors to go for Tech Labs. Could just be for Liberator ranged. Liberator ranged is one of these really nice upgrades for Terrans to have. Another one of those late game things that you definitely do want to mix in. But I mean, whenever you adding on, or whenever you're adding on additional starports while having fusion, I mean, you know, we have +3 already done as well, right? For the, yeah, for the air weapons. Come on, ByuN. Come on, ByuN. I'm just saying, if I were you, I would add on some Battlecruisers. Yeah, advanced ballistic. Oh, he is switching. Alright. Maybe. Maybe. I guess he needs to trade the armies out first. Anyways, NightMare has been given enough time to rebuild his force. Decides to go for the center base. There's one over here for ByuN as well. Somehow these bases are always forgotten. Even though, you know, they're right there. Interestingly enough, it feels like they don't exist. But there's 2 bases in the center of this map. Okay, oh my god, we're building Battlecruisers. 3 of them. Okay, he's building 3 Battlecruisers at once. 3 Battlecruisers and then 3 additional command centers too. Dark Templar in the bottom left-hand corner, absolutely demolishing that planetary fortress. Nicely done. Static defense right here in the center of the map as well. I wouldn't have minded seeing a second Cyber Core, if I'm being honest with you. Would have loved to see all of those upgrades for the Protoss air units already done. Certainly does make a difference. Oh my god, dude. Are we building 1 command center for every Battlecruiser? Is that what we're doing right now? ByuN's like, yeah, those units are expensive, but what about I add 400 minerals more in addition to the units? Maybe that's the only way to properly avoid them. I guess, like, the problem is as well that they're very supply heavy. So, ByuN at this point, when he has this many orbital commands, right, he doesn't really have to care too much anymore about workers. Mules don't cost any supply, so that supply that you save can obviously go then to Battlecruiser production. So, mass carrier versus mass Battlecruiser. Battlecruisers actually win that fight. Okay. A little bit of awkwardness over here. Nice catch right there by ByuN, though. Opening up more supply. Yeah, to go for 3 more Battlecruisers. Let's go. We even have the medevac boost upgrade right over there. I don't even know the name of it. What's the thing called? I'm looking it up. Fusion core upgrades. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. I gotta play StarCraft caster trivia with myself. It is called a rapid reignition system. Yes. So it reduces the cooldown of the Medivac Ignite Afterburners ability. So Terran has like a load of abilities that they can research and a load of upgrades that they can get that the other races just don't. Anyways, Medivac's already pretty good. Makes him even better. ByuN is taking care, though, of pretty much all of the bases that he can comfortably get, other than this one right here in the center. NightMare has been mining a little bit more for a little while longer. Yeah, you can see he's not really too concerned with his mineral income. He only really cares about the gas. Wouldn't mind seeing him maybe take the base on the left side of the map, too. Anyways. For some reason, this Protoss army looks so small to me, man. He's got 11 High Templar, but there's none with the... No, there's 2 with this army over here. I guess he's got them sprinkled around the bases. There's still that tactical nuke available for ByuN as well. What about a Mama ship? What about static defense in the middle of the map? What about Archons? Anyways. Oh my god, High Templar, the reason you keep those High Templar around is so you can actually storm when the Terran units, well, stim up a ramp like that. NightMare had about 3 seconds, I think. Didn't get it. Decides to replace the lost supply once again with 11 additional Dark Templar. I dig it. Okay, and we are going to go for static defense here in the middle of the map. ByuN just about to become next door neighbor right here with a Protoss player. Not really too keen on it. Okay, interceptors are already fully deployed. That is actually super important. The interceptor ships, they trickle out. Once all 8 of them are available, you can just retarget pretty easily. Anyways, a couple of bases right here are being killed. A couple of bases are being killed as well, though, by the Terran player. And these are bases that are actually mining, which makes all the difference. Okay. NightMare actually doesn't have that much money anymore. ByuN also doesn't have that much gas. He's adding on 4 additional Battlecruisers. So we're now coming up on 11 Battlecruisers. That is a lot. Okay, BCs at this point joining the fray as well. They obviously fire extremely quickly, and every single one of those missiles gets +3 damage because of those +3 upgrades. Oh, okay, we do have a blink forward here by NightMare, forcing those BCs to retreat, and another command center bites the dust. Medevacs in the main base from the Protoss player, at the very least, they are forced to retreat all the way back home, empty. This point, though, all of these offensive shield batteries are done. The problem is that they spawn with less energy these days, so this is not as defendable, I guess, as we usually saw back in the day. At this point, the Battlecruisers are just trying to fly over everything. Tempest here trying to pick off whatever they can. Trying to go after the low HP Battlecruisers first, I imagine. And I think actually ByuN came out of that fight a little bit better. I mean, a lot of those Battlecruisers are very deep into red HP, so I would love to see a repair on those. Repair, of course, does cost money. He doesn't have that many minerals and that much gas anymore available. NightMare actually getting a little bit more of that. Obviously, the shields, they do regenerate automatically. The health does not ever come back here for Protoss. He needs to be very cautious. He goes back to Marine production right now, ByuN that is, which I quite like. When you have a lot of minerals and you've got fully upgraded Marines, probably not a bad choice. Okay, Storm's right there. ByuN target firing down the High Templar. He actually is killing 4 High Templar. Oh, you know what? That was a cute move right there by the Protoss player. Oh my god, the blink and the recall. What? They just hit empty air. Anyways, NightMare moved the High Templar pretty far forward to try and, he blinked, by the way, with the Battlecruisers, right? I think I said, anyway. He mass recalled right there with the Protoss units, and then these units obviously use their technical jump. That's sick. Anyways, High Templar tried to storm the SCVs, and they successfully pulled it off, but ByuN at the same time retargeted with the Planetary Fortress, which is something you can do, to shift queue all of the 4 High Templar. So I think the first 2 died to splash damage, and that was actually quite an expensive set of units to lose. Now ByuN, though, finds himself with a 50 supply lead. Bro, you need to stop. Terran players go a little too ham on their command centers, man. This is too much. We're already at 7 orbital commands, 1 planetary fortress, and now we've got 2 more coming up. I mean, you have enough CCs to mine out the rest of the bases. Anyways, base in the top right-hand corner, never reacquired. ByuN knows this right now too, so he must realize that Protoss is kind of broke. That was like 10 missed Yamato cannons though, right? Pretty sick. I don't know about, yeah, I don't know. I guess NightMare has spotted the amount of Marines in his army. So there's 33 of them in total right now, so he decides to go for a couple Colossi once again. But I've got a feeling the Colossi are just going to get absolutely demolished. Anyways, who called in the fleet? ByuN does get revealed here. Nice moves right there on the Oracle. 12 Tempests here in total, by the way. Only 3 carriers. Tempests, of course, have a ton of ranged. They can shoot much further away than they can actually see. So that's why the revelation right there of the Oracle is so important. It does wear off after a little bit, though, so it needs to be reapplied. That Oracle actually super critical. You really want to try and be firing here at the maximum range, but obviously if you overextend, then suddenly, yeah, you'll be hit by the Marines once again. So if you go too far forward, also becomes a bit of a miss. The Artosalope and the Tastalope, both together here. The little critters that are running around on the map. Of course, a reference right there to the Korean StarCraft casters. Or, well, the English StarCraft casters in Korea. There you go. EMPs? Nice EMPs. Very nice EMPs. The High Templar have no storm available anymore. This time around, the Yamato guns do go off. Marines coming in from the left side as well. ByuN gets a beautiful engagement. And even though he was behind for quite a while in this game, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be able to absolutely demolish NightMare from this position. That being said, I mean, the Battlecruisers, they're coming up, sure. 4 more are on the production tab, or I guess 3 more right now, but the supply count is a little bit inflated because those units do take a long time to produce. Stalkers obviously can be warped in quite a bit quicker, but the Battlecruisers are just chasing them down. You may have more range than me, but I can move and shoot at the same time. NightMare hits the GG on the keyboard, and ByuN eventually obtains the victory.